Hello and welcome everyone. Am I audible and visible? Yeah. So I think we can wait for another 2 minutes. People are still joining. Meanwhile, Suyash and Aryan are already over here. I have put the Slido link in the chat box. So whatever your doubts are, please put them in this link. Uh, the flow will be will ask Suyash and Aryan about their experience, their point of view for the whole process, and after that we'll go to the directly to the doubts. All right.
Hi guys.
Yes, so I would like to tell that Suyash and Aryan were with me as my co-interns. Also, there was Yash Mahajan as well and Rajiv Tapadia. Due to some last minute things, they were not able to join. So yeah, we are here now. Firstly, I would like to I would request Suyash that just go through the total journey from your perspective. Like in the last session, I went through my perspective. Then we'll go to Aryan, and once that is done, we have a lot of questions. Like we have around 12 to 15 questions from our students. So we'll answer them, and that will be about today's session.
Okay, so is it fine if I talk about the interview as well, like what happened in the interview rounds and all?
Yeah, all right, no problem.
Okay, so last year on 25th of September was our online assessment, and within a week itself we got the results of who were shortlisted. On 1st of October was our actual interview. It was a one-day process itself. So all the rounds were conducted in a single day. The first round was the technical round. So in the technical round, uh, in the so we were about 15-20 people. So the order in which you go for the interview also really matters, because at the end of the day, luck also plays into the picture. So mine was the first interview. So yeah, so luck also plays. I was saying when okay, so there are they give you two options, either to choose any of the two rooms to give the interview in. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. So the first technical round starts by they first check your resume, and they only ask you questions based on your resume. So what you enter in your resume is very important, because if you enter some random skill that you just have tried once, and if they ask you question based on that, they'll be able to immediately figure it out that you have just entered it and you don't really know what exactly that skill is. So you have to make sure that what you enter in your resume is very concise and it is actually what you know. So I'll share the resume that I had submitted, and I got shortlisted for Citi back then. So just a second. Yeah, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So my resume was quite minimal. It didn't really have, like, it wasn't beefy or anything like that. It had minimal projects, and but they were quite impactful. So the interview was very focused on the projects that I did, because the first thing is that your project should interest them. So if your projects are interesting enough, they'll ask you questions based on the project. Then you have to explain like how you started the project, what problems you faced, and how did you solve them, and it should go in a quite good flow. So then you have to keep them engaged and interested in your project. So all my projects back then were like freelancing projects, so I was able to like keep them engaged, and they were quite interested in what I did. And I had back then I had also done internship at like the GSOC, so it also helped a lot. I think this was a very impactful part in my resume. So what I'm trying to say is, first the technical round will start based on your resume. They'll check your projects. If your projects are interesting enough, they'll keep on asking you questions about your projects and the relevant skills that you have mentioned with respect to the project. Then they'll switch to DSA. So that is when the switching parts to DSA happens. Each technical round will have DSA, whether or not your projects are good or not. But the intensity of DSA would depend on the quality of your projects. So if your projects are quite good, then the DSA round would be a bit lenient. Otherwise, they'll ask you quite a heavy DSA based. It will be a quite heavy DSA based interview. So for my case, my projects were decent enough, and I told them about my experience at this internship. And yeah, and one also thing that you have to remember is that you should not just keep talking about technical stuff itself, even though it is a technical interview. You have to also make the interviewer comfortable enough, because during my interview, I like befriended the interviewer. So like we were cracking jokes in the technical round, not in the HR round. In the technical round itself, we were cracking jokes. We are having fun. Like I didn't consider it as an interview. So you have to make sure that the interviewer is comfortable as well, and also you have to, like, you should be able to articulate yourself good enough so that they can have that confidence in you that what you're saying is true and what you have done is you have done yourself. So this was my resume back then, which was shortlisted for the Citi interview. So the first round was the, like, I explained each project what I did in a short brief. Then it started by looking into my technical skills. So what you might add in the technical skill is very important. So he in the technical round he asked me about Git. I had mentioned Git, so he asked me what like if there is a merge conflict, how would you resolve it? Then asked me various different Git commands which were there, and various like parameters that we can send to a Git command. So these were some couple of Git questions. I also mentioned about SQL. So there were questions about joins, there were questions about triggers, procedures, and he gave me a real based scenario of what will you do in certain situation. Like the questions were based on more practical aspects and not theoretical. So he gave me a scenario of ऐसा scene है, so how will you create the query, what type of query would you use, then, and make sure to deliver what you say above the threshold that they're expecting. For example, if they ask you about joins, what exactly are joins, you should explain the different categories of join as well, even though they haven't asked it. So it's that you're providing beyond what you have asked, so they can see the depth that you truly know that what you're saying. So that is one point to remember as well. And also I did not mention I mentioned React over here, but not in the technical skills. So he saw React in this project and asked me a question related to React. So I was very honest with him. I told him that I do not know much of React. I did most of the Python and Django part of the project, and React was just like I did very little part of the project in React. And he was like, he accepted it, like you should not fake it. I did mention React over here, and I was honest with him कि मुझे इतना नहीं आता है, मुझे थोड़ा बहुत ही आता है. And he was like, okay, chalega, no problem. So you have to make sure that you are honest with them, because they are able to catch it really quickly. And yeah, that was the technical interview. So we covered SQL, and yeah, in the technical interview he also asked me a DSA question. So he was quite happy with the project and my experience. So the DSA question was quite easy one, it wasn't difficult, so I was able to do it. And then my first technical round ended, and after the technical round immediately I was called for the second round. So if you are selected for the next round, if you are eligible for the next round, they'll directly send you to the next round. So then you have to keep that in mind. So once like I went through my first round, the second was the technical HR round. So here you can get a bit more like lenient with your technical skills. It is after all a technical round as well, but this person in front of you is an HR at the end of the day. So you must also come off as a really good conversationist. And same case here as well, you have to make the person in front of you comfortable enough, and you should lighten the mood. And it was, the second round was very important, because based on the first two rounds your actual decision is made. The third round, it's just like for
Formality.
my, from my experience itself, it was formality. The third round didn't really matter. The third round was the HR round. In the first two rounds itself, I am pretty sure that they decided on whom to choose. So in the first two rounds are very important. In this technical HR, I was asked a puzzle, and yeah, I was only asked one puzzle, and most of the time we were discussing about different things, and it wasn't even related to the interview. We were discussing random things. So that's what I'm really trying to incline over here, that you have to make the person in front of you comfortable enough, and not just think that it is their जॉब कि आज काम पे आया, ऐसे लगना नहीं चाहिए. So I was like कि मैं इंटरव्यू देने आया, ऐसे मुझे लग रहा भी नहीं है. I literally said this in my interview during the technical HR, and they were quite happy, and ऐसे jokes मार रहे थे, and that HR is still in contact with me even after my internship. So that's the point I'm trying to make is you have to really leave an impact on the person in front of you so that they can remember you. So yeah, so that was in the second round. They just asked like what are your strengths, then what are your weaknesses, what have you, like how do you have any leadership, like how do you define yourself. Then they ask you one puzzle question, and yeah, mostly about yourself, like what have you done in the past, not related to project itself, but what have your expenses been, have you done any extracurricular activities or not, all that stuff. So my second round, the first round was around 40 minutes long, and the second round too was around roughly the same, 30 to 40 minutes. And for the first two rounds, yeah, you are immediately shifted to the second round as and when the first round ends, if you are like eligible to proceed. For the third round, you have to wait until all the participants or all the other students who were giving the interview have completed with the interview process. And once all the people who have completed the interview, then you will have the HR round. In the HR round, they just ask you, did you attended the PPT session organized by Citi? What were the core important points that you took from the PPT? And my case was, I did not attend the PPT. I did not know what were the core principles of the Citi. And I was so stressed because the first two rounds were really good, and I did not want to blow it in the last round. So and since I said mine was the first, like I was the first person giving the interview, so I did not have any other people to tell me कि क्या questions पूछे. So when the third round started, the HR asked me question and I was just blank कि PPT नहीं किया, PPT attend नहीं किया, core points नहीं पता, and so I was like कि भाई गया अब. So that's why I'm so positive about the final decision is made in the first two rounds itself, and the third round is just formality one. But in the third round, if you face a situation like me, then just try to talk about other things. कि city में कैसा है, ask questions about city, then what exactly do you do, how is the work culture like, ऐसे ही questions पूछते रहो. The third round I think is formality, but either way you should ask questions about city and show that you are actually interested. And one more thing, in the second round I was asked like where do you see yourself in 5 years. So I mentioned that I am at Citi, probably at some good position, senior dev level और ऐसे कुछ, तो मैंने बोल दिया. So like they were happy as well कि ठीक है बंदा बोल रहा है. And yeah, third round was like 2 to 3 minutes itself. Like as I mentioned, it was just a formality. And after third round ended, after everybody's third round ended, like in half hour or something like that, we got the results, and they announced it कि who were all selected. So this was the entire process that I could think of on top of my head. And yeah, if you guys should, the question round would be the next now after Aryan's.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah. Just to point it out, like I just saw Suyas resume, and guys, you should see the technical skills that he has mentioned. Like I have seen some resumes जिसमें I mean 20-25 ऐसे एक के बाद एक सारे skills ऐसे उन्होंने mention किए होते हैं. तो there is the point where you give chance to the interviewer कि भाई तू देख ले इतने सारे हैं, लाइक तुम्हारे हाथ में उस टाइम पे इंटरव्यू नहीं रहेगा. अगर इतने ही टेक्निकल स्किल्स है दे कैन फोकस ऑन दैट. अगर आपका प्रोजेक्ट में वो स्किल है तो आप इजीली वो पास ऑन कर सकते हो कि मेरे जो ग्रुप मेट थे उन्होंने किया था ऐसे करके. इफ यू आर पुटिंग दैट इनटू टेक्निकल स्किल्स जस्ट टू शो इट थोड़ा बड़ा या अच्छा दिखाने के लिए, इट वोंट वर्क एट ऑल.
exactly.
सेकंड, एक्सपीरियंस में ही हैज मेंशन्ड गूगल इंटर्न. तो दैट इज ओनली क्रिएटिंग, आई वुड से सबसे पहला इंप्रेशन तो वही पड़ जाता है कि दिस गाय हैज बीन इंटर्न इनटू द गूगल. तो उनको चेक करने की, कुछ चीजें चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. आई मीन कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. सेकेंडली कॉर्पोरेट या टीम में काम कैसे करना है, सिंस दीज थिंग्स आर कंसिडर्ड कि अच्छा इसने काम करके रखा है तो ही नोज दैट, पिछली वाली टीम ने उसका ख्याल रख लिया होगा. So yeah, again you can see only 3 projects he has mentioned at that point. So that is more than enough. मैंने कल किसी का रेज्यूमे देखा था जिसमें he had 4 projects, 5 projects. तो उसका कुछ काम नहीं है क्योंकि even Suyash will tell कि पहले प्रोजेक्ट पे ही ज्यादा उन्होंने ग्रिल किया होगा. मैक्स टू मैक्स वो सेकेंड प्रोजेक्ट पे जाएंगे, उससे ज्यादा वो जाते भी नहीं है. तो कम से कम प्रोजेक्ट्स बट टॉप क्लास प्रोजेक्ट इज व्हाट नेसेसरी. Thank you, Suyash, for these insights. And I would request Aryan to go ahead next.
Yeah, so one more point, like before our interviews the previous day, I told Suyash that they'll automatically select him based on his previous experience, which actually turned out to be true. But I'll give you like a perspective from a person who didn't have any like on paper experience from like a company. I mean, I did some freelance projects, of course, but I didn't put them on the resume that time. I don't know why. So anyway, I don't have a copy of my resume from that time, but I have a list of the projects that I had. I'll just share that.
All right.
So I hope you can see it.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically for me, the first round, I think I was third. Yeah, I was third in it. So after I went inside, like same thing, I was asked for my technical skills and I didn't enter a lot. I entered like C++, Python, Git, SQL. Then I think I entered HTML, CSS as well, just basic stuff. And after that, he started asking me about like OOPS concepts, going a lot of DBMS questions, like giving me scenarios, like real life scenarios. This is my database. How would be the fastest way to access a certain entry in the database? Not like writing SQL queries, but like actual real life questions to challenge like what is your thinking process, and instead of just typing in queries, because I think like queries are a very easy thing to do. So they want your thought process more than they want to like to be an expert at a certain technology, because they're not looking for someone who's already an expert, but instead they're looking for someone who's like willing to learn new things. That's like the core essence of an internship, right? You're going there to learn. They don't want you to be an expert like at it from day one. So after that, yeah, they were asking a lot about OOPS. And one more funny point was that after OOPS question, he started switching to more like Java specific OOPS, like interfaces and all. And so I answered all of those perfectly because I was good at Java, but I hadn't entered it in my resume. The reason I didn't enter it in my resume back then, because like I got to know like fintech companies use Java 5 minutes before my interview, which like in hindsight would have been a good thing to know before. And one more thing was that I could do Java, I was good at it, but I didn't like Java. So that's another reason that I didn't enter it. So like after I answered all of my Java questions, the interviewer naturally asked me like, why didn't you enter Java in your resume skill list if you can answer it? So I told him like I must have forgot or something, because I can't say that I don't like it in front of him, right? So I don't recommend you do any of that. But also please don't add any extra skills, because at that point if you're already in the interview, it's the ball is in your court. Like you just have to prove that you know the skills that you have presented in your resume. You can put like a lot of things. You can put Next.js, you can put React, but if you fail at a basic question, then that gives a really bad impression. So instead of like saying you know a lot of things, you can just say, okay, this much मुझे 100% पक्का आता है. Other things I'm learning. So one more example was that my interviewer, like, make sure you search your interviewer on LinkedIn before. They'll send you a list, and from my interviewer for round one was basically a VP from the front end development team. And personally, I'm not that fond of front end, so I saw a lot of things like React, Angular in his skills list. So that was in the back of my mind. Like, okay, I have to avoid these kind of questions. So that's another skill. Like, how do you avoid questions which you don't know, but you know the interview is gonna ask you? So like after he started questioning my projects and all, like you will see question paper and all. I get into those after this. So he started asking me about projects. So you can see I've mentioned HTML and CSS, and you won't find things like React or any complex frameworks anywhere. So then he asked me like, do you know how much do you know React? And I told him like with a straight face, like I know what are life cycle functions, what are props, and all of that. I told him like a bit basic, a little bit of basic. Then I said that I'm still learning it. I haven't used React in a project yet, but I'm in the process of learning it. So you don't say कि नहीं आता है मुझे. You should give like a positive answer. You frame it in a positive way. So you don't say कि you don't include a negation in your sentence. You say कि I'm learning it. I haven't used it in a project yet, but I know itna pata hai. So it's like a good idea to at least have some decent knowledge of the common frameworks. You know some terminology, some basic terms which you can say कि ठीक है इतना आता है मुझे. Then rest you're not expected to be an expert anyway. Okay, so coming to my project. So first one was actually a project we were making for our college. That's why it actually left very good impression on the interviewer. Like a professor approached us saying like, can you make this project for a college? We need to streamline the process of making question papers. And that basically gives more of an impact in the sense like if it was just a normal project, like okay, semester project hai kar liya, but if you're actually making it for a college, they know that you're making with that much caliber, like it has to be deployment ready. So those kind of things you have to keep in mind, because like if you have projects, and most of the students make this mistake where they take projects from either their friends or seniors, they repeat them every sem, which I wouldn't recommend. Like I mean, you have ChatGPT and all these days, so you can just make projects from scratch. You can explore ideas, because when we took this project initially, even I was a bit skeptical ki hoga ya nahi hoga. Then it took me like some time to do it, because of course I wasn't relying on ChatGPT too much back then, because I wanted to actually learn something. But if you're relying on it, then it's completely fine. But your projects like must be unique. Like if your interviewer is impressed by your projects, like Suyash said, they will be less inclined to ask you DSA, because they'll be more focused on your projects, because it gives off basically your unique thinking ability and what kind of skills you have in terms of technologies as well. And yeah, mostly I was asked a lot about questions about my projects, but like DSA, of course, I was asked some linked list related questions, arrays, and I wasn't really asked DP. Yeah, I was asked string manipulation as well. Just like medium to easy lead code, I would say. Then what next? So yeah, after like these technical questions, the interview will ask you, do you have any questions for me? So at this point, I would say is the most important, like one of the most important in the interview, because this is where you can express your interest in the company. So I asked him, me and Swiss, luckily we found a transcript of the CTO where they were discussing some percent, like how much was the revenue for last year, some percentage, what is private banking and all of that. So I asked him, like I found this transcript, they were discussing shares, like why did you quit retail banking in India, which is another important thing, because Citi does not have retail banks in India. And why do you only do private banking and for wealthy people? So I asked some questions related to that, and then at that point the interviewer started like speaking a lot. So he was talking for around 10 minutes straight. I didn't understand anything, like he was using some very fintech specific terms, but you just have to go along like, okay, yes sir, all of that. So that basically shows how interested you are in the company, how much research you have done on the company, and that's something that differentiates you from just having the technical knowledge. Because like if I'm going into an interview, the mindset I have is that on the baseline, everyone will be able to answer all the technical questions. That's the mindset I go in with. So after that, if the playing field is leveled at everyone answering the technical questions correctly, how can I differentiate myself beyond that? That was a mindset I went with. And also during my first round, I made up this entire like story of how I got actually interested in computer engineering, how like I justified why am I doing it, not just because of there's no other options like NEET करना है या engineering करना है. So I made this entire story on the spot over there. I'm not sure how I did it, but somehow my brain did it. Told him like I've been playing Minecraft since like 2016. Then it's like one day I found out that it's made using Java. So that naturally it made me more inclined to start like exploring Java a little bit. Then that got me into Python. I did the CS50 course by Harvard, I think, yeah. And from there, I did a bit of. I was actually a contributor to a Minecraft mod which has more than 1 million users, so I could share a bit of that experience. These are the small things. Like if you have even smallest experience, like you're helping out a company freelancing, doing something like that, these kind of things add up a lot. Then after that, I told him I got into a bit of Kali Linux penetration testing, all of that. I could like test all the ports for my neighbor's Wi-Fi and like get their password, do things like that. So these are the small things that like if they're like in your resume, not in your resume, but you can tell him, because in an interview you shouldn't expect the interviewer to just ask questions, but it is like you have to sell yourself basically. You have to tell them skills on your own. They won't sit there waiting okay, tell me more. They won't say that. You have to tell them your skills. You have to sell yourself basically, how you're different from other candidates. You have to do it on your own. You just have to start speaking. Like drop all the shame you have, whatever. Just start speaking. Like make it a conversation. Don't speak in like a robotic tone or anything. Just normally start speaking. That's like how it works basically. Also because your conversation skills really matter here. I've seen like a lot of my peers, they're like technically a lot better than me. They're a lot better at DSA. I can admit that. They can do like lead code hard very easily and all. But some of them had a problem where they couldn't like articulate themselves properly. So which like of course it would leave a bad impression on the interviewer. So even if you have the technical skills, please make sure that you are working on your speaking English, or like if you're not comfortable with English, if the interviewer agrees a different language, that's fine as well. But I would say you should make your English skills better. I've been like reading books since I was a kid, so maybe that helped me a little bit, so I don't have to focus separately on it. But yeah, it does play a huge role, because as you can see, I had like 3 projects here. They aren't like, aside from project number 1, numbers 2 and 3, they aren't really like that unique. Like looking back on it, these are like second year level projects. I would say second year, first year level projects. So those really matter. Then the next round again was a technical HR round. So in that, at the start, I was asked questions related. I was asked like DSA again a little bit. What is a linked list? What is a queue? Then some getting into time complexities of it. What are the differences? Like how is it different in memory? Things like that. Then it was time for the puzzles, where one was the cake cutting puzzle, which is a very common one. The next one was the 2 like guards at the doors. One is telling the truth, one is telling the lie. That question.
Heaven and heaven one.
Yeah. So like unfortunately for me, I couldn't answer the second one because I didn't see it anywhere. So I was kind of like worried कि okay, sab answer नहीं क्या होगा. But after that, you switched to like the usual teamwork questions, like proper HR questions. Then what is the most important thing for you in a team? Then other things like how do you have any leadership experience? I told them I was in a few clubs. I was in SWD and some experiences like that. Also during that time, we had our SIH as well, and our team had been selected for the final PPT round, where you send your PPTs on the government website, not the actual grand finals, but for the PPT round. So we couldn't tell them over there, okay, we have one SIH or hackathon experience like that. But if you have any hackathon experiences, those like really matter as well, because they show your quick thinking skills under a time limit. After the usual team questions, it was just basically just normal conversation that I wouldn't like recommend making a lot of jokes like Suyash said, because that again depends on the mood of your interviewer. But if they're comfortable enough, I think you can have a normal conversation. Like try your best to not be stressed about it, because tension like it doesn't help you at all. And what else? Yeah, then we had to wait like half an hour for our final HR round. And also one more thing, please attend the pre-placement talk or whatever it was, because uh, I'll give you a very opposite experience from Suez technical round. So actually, even I didn't attend the pre-placement talk because it was online for us, and we had some lab at that time.
No,
So
no,
no,
it was offline, but it was at very odd time. I remember
no,
because
no, it
मैंने
was
भी attend नहीं किया था.
no, 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 it was online. I remember maybe it was hybrid, but because we were in the lab, I remember कि
Okay, okay.
ऐसे ऐसे कुछ तो किया था register. Because that time I was very casual about it कि placement talk के क्या ही और बताएंगे, who cares, whatever.
Right.
So I distinctly remember we were in the lab, like people were on the phone, like on the Zoom meeting or whatever. I was just roaming around, so like washroom वगैरह and all. But like before my interview, like 5 minutes before my HR interview, one of my friends sent me a screenshot of their PPT, like the main three principles of Citi. I don't remember
Mhm.
them, but he sent me that. He told me कि ये रट्टा मार ले and go tell them this in the interview. So when my HR round came, I went there. The HR like asked me like introduce yourself. So I told them like family background or whatever. Then next question was were you there for the pre-placement talk? Now here it's like you have to be smart when answering a question. So you have to first choose like, okay, do I answer this question truthfully, or do I have a strategic way that I can answer this without it backfiring on me? So this is like a very important skill that you require because it benefits you. So in my case, I had only seen one slide from the PPT, but I had memorized the three core principles that they have. Beside from that, I had zero idea about the rest of the placement talk. But Suyash came to me like after his interview, he was like, damn, bhai, kharab hai. They asked me about the pre-placement talk. I said I didn't go there. She said okay and told him to leave. So I'm like, okay, I can't see that back to back. So I just went in there. I said like confidently, I said like, yes, I was there for the pre-placement talk, but I didn't just stop there. I didn't leave it up to her interpretation to ask me like the next question on the pre-placement talk. So I'm like,
Perfect.
I'm gonna keep the power to myself. I said ki, I remember these three principles that you guys have that are you had in the PPT. That's all I remember. I directly told her कि इतना इतना याद है. So I didn't tell her कि okay, I was just there, because then she would ask you, do you remember this thing? Do you remember that thing?
दूसरा कुछ पूछने के लिए स्कोप ही नहीं
Exactly.
रखा है basically.
Yes. So if I keep saying no, I don't remember this, no, I don't remember that, to a lot of things, then it seems like you're lying. So like controlling how the questions work in an interview is on you, because if you mention certain keywords while answering a different question, then you have an approximate idea of what the next question can be, and you can use that to your favor. This is not just for city interviews, but for any interviews you might give.
Mm.
This is like, because the interviewers, they don't have a list of questions that they have to ask. They're different for each candidate. And how are they different and why are they different? Because it depends on the answer you're giving to the current question. So you have to always keep that in mind as well. Yeah, I think that was my experience for the interview.
All right. मैंने अपना जो C2C का टीम है उनको भी बहुत बार बोला है. आई मीन इंटरव्यू सबके लिए लाइक ऐसा रहता है कि भाई इंटरव्यू है, बट इट इज जस्ट अ टॉक. यू जस्ट हैव टू गो देयर एंड यू हैव टू पुट योरसेल्फ, यू हैव टू प्रेजेंट योरसेल्फ कि ये कुछ किया है मैंने. आपका इंटरेस्ट हायर करने में ये है, दैट इज अलाइनिंग विद व्हाट आई हैव डन. एंड अगर वो मैच होता है, इफ यू आर able to sell yourself at that point, then you get hired.
Yeah, but a prerequisite being that on a minimum you should at least answer the technical question,
Right.
because you can't just convey interest, so technical भी करना पड़ेगा.
True. Like baseline में you should have decent of everything. I mean, projects भी decent होने चाहिए. थोड़ा बहुत जो वो बोल रहे, I mean हर question पे हम उसको टांग नहीं दे सकते. तो 2-3 questions में if we play it very well, then हो जाएगा, कोई problem नहीं है. All right. ठीक है. Aryan, thank you for your insights.
Yes.
I would like to share my screen now, and we'll take the questions, but before that, I would like to show one thing. So just give me a minute. Just a second. Yeah. So, Aryan, I think you can stop your screen share.
Yeah, so.
So guys, this was my initial resume. As you can see, मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा चीज़ें डाल के रखी थी, जिसपे वो बैकफायर कर सकती थी. आई मीन कोर्स वर्क डाला है एंड एक एक्स्ट्रा प्रोजेक्ट डाला है, यहाँ पे इतने सारे स्किल्स डाले हैं. बट एट द टाइम ऑफ इंटरव्यू ना, उन्होंने बोला था कि एक हार्ड कॉपी लेके आओ, जिसपे देर इज़ अ गुड चांस कि आपका टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू उसी पे होगा. तो बिफोर गोइंग टू इंटरव्यू मैंने बहुत सिंप्लीफाई कर दिया था. आई मीन एक प्रोजेक्ट उड़ा दिया था. यहाँ के टेक्निकल स्किल्स बहुत मतलब ऐसे रखे थे कि इस पे कुछ भी पूछेंगे तो आई विल बी एबल टू आंसर. एंड दिस इज रेज्यूमे ऑप्टिमाइजेशन. यू हैव टू डू इट कंपनी पे बेस्ड. आई मीन फाइनेंस की आ रही है तो उसके हिसाब से ऑप्टिमाइज करो. ओवरऑल जो एक नाइव हमारा अंडरस्टैंडिंग रहता है रेज्यूमे के बारे में, यू हैव टू चेंज इट व्हाइल अपीयरिंग फॉर इंटरव्यूज और व्हाइल अप्लाइंग टू कंपनी. कि अगर यही रेज्यूमे इंटरव्यू तक एंड में जाने वाला है तो आई शुड हैव ओनली दोज थिंग्स व्हिच आई विल बी एबल टू आंसर वेरी कॉन्फिडेंटली. तो दिस वाज द प्रोजेक्ट जिसने मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा हेल्प की थी. इट वाज फ्रॉम बॉश एंड इट वाज अ इंडस्ट्री प्रोजेक्ट. दैट्स व्हाई आई टोल्ड इन माय लास्ट सेशन दैट लुक फॉर इंडस्ट्री प्रोजेक्ट्स जिसमें यू विल गेट अ गुड नेम फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट. तो ये पूरा पाइथन में सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट था. बट एट द टाइम ऑफ माई इंटरव्यूअर आस्क्ड मी कि इसमें कुछ तुमने एमएल मॉडल यूज़ किया था क्या, या पाइथन का कुछ फ्रेमवर्क वगैरह यूज़ किया था. एट दैट पॉइंट मैंने उनको बस क्लियरली बोल दिया कि इट वाज शेयर सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट पाइथन पे बेस्ड, जिसमें मैंने मैक्स टू मैक्स ऊप्स के प्रिंसिपल्स यूज़ किए. उससे ज़्यादा वी हैवंट उसमें और कुछ ज़्यादा यूज़ नहीं किया था. तो this was the resume optimization I did at my time. So ये ध्यान में रखो, क्योंकि एक बहुत अच्छा मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग रहता है सबका कि अगर आपको क्या बोलता है एटीएस में शॉर्टलिस्ट होना है तो यू नीड सर्टेन कीवर्ड्स. तो वो कीवर्ड्स के चक्कर में हम रेज्यूमे में इतने सारी चीज़ें डाल देते हैं कि अल्टीमेटली वो बैकफायर कर देती है. ठीक है. सो दैट वाज about that resume optimization thing. Now I'll share my screen with the doubts that our students have. And these link will be open for another 5 minutes. After that it will be closed. So जो भी questions है आपके अगर बचे तो फटाफट डाल दो. We'll try to answer them. All right, I'll just share my screen now. Yeah. I think it is visible, right? Or not yet?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. All right. ठीक है. So Suyash, Aryan, आपको if any one of you want to answer, just go ahead.
I think I'll go for the first question because I feel I can personally relate to it. So, like considering HSC percentage, the requirement depends not on the company actually. It's our TPO that sets the requirements for that. Like CGPA requirements or actually the company, like big companies usually don't tend to give requirements, but it's the TPO that says okay, we need a pointer of at least 8.5. So like during the Citi thing, I had like my CGPA was 8.3, which is I assume a lot lesser than a lot of you here, which is a good thing for all of you. And also my HSC percentage was I think 75. Yeah. So like both of those things I was not very good in, but still I could do it because in the interview they won't ask you about like marks क्यों कम है. They are still focused on your skills. But if like a criteria is there this year, I'm not sure, then that would be from the college side, not from the company side. So I don't think there's anything you can or we can do about it.
All right, we can move ahead. We already submitted resume during applying company. We are able to go with different resume during interview. It totally depends on how TPO notifies you. अगर वो बोल रहे हैं कि एक हार्ड कॉपी लेके आओ, तो देयर इज अ गुड चांस कि आपका हार्ड कॉपी पे ही होगा. आई मीन टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू एटलीस्ट. HR राउंड के लिए उनके पास उनका सिस्टम होता है, लैपटॉप होता है, वो दे विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम दैट ओनली. सो डिपेंड्स. अभी के लिए इट्स ओके, बट नेक्स्ट टाइम से ध्यान रखो कि एक ऑप्टिमाइज रेज्यूमे ही जाना चाहिए आपका आगे. All right. This question I'll mark. Could you please explain the type of DSA questions asked in interviews and OA?
Yeah, so
Yes,
as I
Aryan.
mentioned, I was asked linked list, string manipulation, and array based questions. These would depend entirely on what your projects are. That's like the main thing. If you have got projects, they won't ask you much of it. But the other two interns, they were actually asked DSA hard questions during the final HR round, which for the like we when Citi came for our batch, we had two different domains. So our process was a bit different. For them, round three was also a technical round. So in that round, they were asked lead code hard questions. So one of my classmates got actually not selected because of that. He couldn't answer it properly. So I would keep that in mind because this year I've heard from people that there isn't like distinct domains, it's just analyst. So I would keep both of those scenarios in mind and prepare accordingly.
All right. तो लास्ट सेशन में तो मैंने बोला था कि DSA पे दे वोंट फोकस इतना. आई मीन इजी टू मॉडरेट लेवल के ही होते हैं क्वेश्चन, बट आई वुड स्ट्रांगली सजेस्ट कि सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स आपको पता होने चाहिए. आई एम रिपीटिंग इट. जस्ट अ सेकंड, कहाँ गया ये? इज इट विजिबल नाउ और नॉट?
Yeah.
Okay. Suyash, I think you can go ahead with.
Yeah, which subjects will be asked in OA of CitiBank? वो CS fundamentals ही like पूछते हैं, and mostly it is like heavy focused on the SQL and all. So rest of the concept like OS and all, it's not quite. The questions aren't difficult, and the coding questions there are two coding questions, and they are relatively easy as well. They are not very difficult. So the OA round is, I think, is decent enough. It's not as difficult as the other companies. Like we had PhonePe as well, and PhonePe was quite difficult. So yeah, CS fundamentals and two coding questions which are easy to medium.
I think there were logic questions as well, right?
Logic? No, I don't think so. There.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing here was that again we had two different domains, and the other domain also had, I think, Angular and React questions that were asked to them. So that's another differentiation that I would keep in mind. So be ready for both.
So this year they just have mentioned one role, that is application developer, and there is nothing like PBWM and ICG that we had. So I was quite skeptical about that only कि कैसा रहेगा, क्योंकि सिटी का इस बार मेजर रिस्ट्रक्चर हुआ है, तो that might impact on their recruiting process, that might not impact. So yeah. Moving ahead. Which subject? ये तो हो गया. How much DSA project core CS subjects knowledge should I have? Okay. By third sem, you mean you're in second year का first sem. तो DSA का बेसिक चालू हो जाएगा कॉलेज में. फर्स्ट ईयर में ही C में पढ़ा देता है, तो वो होगा. उसके बाद प्रोजेक्ट तो कुछ खास नहीं रहता. आई मीन यू स्टार्ट डूइंग योर गुड प्रोजेक्ट्स फ्रॉम सेकेंड ईयर का सेकेंड सेम तक थोड़ा जिस्ट आ जाता है कि कैसे काइंड ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स यू हैव टू डू. कोर CS सब्जेक्ट आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर अबाउट कंप्यूटर साइंस एंड वो ब्रांचेस, बट सब ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा आपका उप्स हो जाएगा थर्ड सेम तक. उसके आगे अभी टाइम होगा. तो जो भी CN या OS वगैरह है, यू विल गेट टू लर्न देम बाय एंड ऑफ योर थर्ड ईयर का फर्स्ट सेम और सेकेंड सेम.
Just keep up with college. So whatever like they're teaching you data structures in college, even if you keep up with that, I think that pace is good enough, because I feel like a lot of big misconception is that there is no time to study. It's just that if you go along with the curriculum, like luckily for us, our college has a good curriculum. So if I like in retrospect, if we look back, then in third year we had all of the DSA, DP questions that are usually asked in the interviews. Back then we didn't really have an idea that okay, these are the same questions that will be asked, like third year, first sem, and even second year, second sem. So if you just keep up with college DSA, whatever they're teaching during that period, I think you're good, and you can practice lead code questions in the background as well.
Yeah, all right. Moving ahead, for how many companies there was 80% in 12th criteria for your batch? So for our batch, we were quite lucky. So we had no such criteria on our 10th and 12th, but we had a strict criteria on our CGPA.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Like not for Citi, but later the companies that were coming, they were keeping some criteria like above, I think above 75 or above 80, they were keeping it, but Citi didn't do it. So maybe for later companies that would matter more.
If a project that solves a real world problem and can be developed simply without new technology like AI, then how will it impact the interview?
I mean,
So it's not about how you're developing, it's about like आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव कंप्लीट हुआ कि नहीं प्रोजेक्ट करके. सेकेंडली यू नो एवरीथिंग अबाउट इट, लाइक द डिसीजन मेकिंग बिहाइंड इट, लाइक यही टेक स्टैक क्यों यूज किया, दूसरा वाला क्यों नहीं यूज किया. सेकेंडली आई वुड से एआई के साथ बिल्ड करना इज इवन इंडस्ट्री इज ऑल्सो अडेप्टिंग इट. तो बिल्डिंग विथ एआई इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम, बट इट इज नॉट, इट शुड नॉट बी लाइक कि आपको कुछ पता ही नहीं है. आई मीन अगर मैं रैंडमली पूछ दूं कि ये फीचर कहाँ से आ रहा है, या if I want to improve this, how am I going to improve it? So these are the questions you should be able to answer. तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि भाई AI को ही बोल दिया आइडिएट भी कर, उसको ही बोल दिया आर्किटेक्चर भी बना, एंड उसी से सब कुछ बना लिया, then there is a no point. उससे अच्छा I would suggest कि जाओ GitHub पे, you will get a lot of projects. उसका भी आप अच्छे से स्टडी कर लोगे, then that would also work. But yeah, if you are building something, you should know thoroughly what you are building. For OA, I would say CS fundamentals and DSA at decent level. उससे ज़्यादा तो कुछ है नहीं. आई मीन लॉजिकल रीजनिंग एप्टी है भी, तो वो इतना मुश्किल नहीं जाता फॉर अस. तो या सुयश, आर्यन, you guys answer the third question. Does SQL 50 enough for CitiBank?
I think it's good enough. They will see it's not. They won't expect a lot. They won't expect things like triggers, functions, anything advanced. You just need to have the basic queries in mind, like syntax अच्छे से कर लो. Because I don't think SQL is that hard to like get good at least the basics. So it's a very easy thing you can master it for your interview.
and also make sure that some key concepts of SQL are like you have completed, even though they are a bit advanced, like वो joins and all हो गया. Like if you have the time, and I'm assuming you have time, you should always cover it first, because one point
knowledge is better anytime.
Because one point I mentioned was delivering like above what they're expecting of. So if you are just able to explain in much more depth than they expected, then obviously you will have you stand apart from other people. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, guys, you go ahead with the questions. I'll just check what are the other questions. And
can you tell us about the sections? I think we already discussed this, right?
yeah.
So
Which topics? Same.
See, getting an internship is, I think, you have to keep like a. This is not like answering the question exactly, but I just thought of something that if you like really want a good internship in a good company, you have to like find a way to manage doing like DSA and CS principles along with good projects, because DSA principles will get you some questions answered in the interview, but like to actually impress the interviewer, you do need good projects. So I would say ki actually try making good projects, because our college gives us a lot of free time. So please make sure you utilize that properly.
you know what, in last session they asked me whether it was like DSA greater than projects or projects greater than DSA. I
That
stuck to DSA greater than projects, but at some point you just have to leave that. I mean, you must have
exactly.
good DSA, you must
Hmm.
have good projects, you, and उससे भी ज़्यादा ये ठीक भी नहीं है, तो you must need good presentation skills,
Yeah.
True.
because
So I would say
competition
it
बहुत
goes like
ज़्यादा
presentation skills,
true.
then projects and DSA, however you wish to rank them, because that depends on the company. Because some companies they strictly care about DSA and not your project. So I would say the bottom two are like shuffleable, but top your communication skills always have to be good.
अगेन इट डिपेंड्स ऑन इंडस्ट्री एज वेल, राइट? लाइक जब अमेजोन या पोर्टर वगैरह आती है, तो उनको ग्राफ्स वगैरह पे एक्चुअली काम होता है उनका, लाइक एल्गोरिदम वगैरह, तो दे डू फोकस ऑन दैट। बट ये फाइनेंस में या कुछ कुछ स्टार्टअप्स भी है, तो दे डोंट रियली थिंक कि हाई लेवल ऑफ डीएसए यू नो, बट प्रोजेक्ट में इफ यू हैव डन समथिंग रियली गुड, देन या चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं। ठीक है।
I think that
और
answers
which
that question.
right now in itself I have a not very good prep. हाँ, आराम से जस्ट कीप डूइंग इट एंड ब्रेक मत दो। आई मीन डीएसए में कैसा होता है कि इफ यू स्टार्ट डीएसए एंड बीच में गैप पड़ जाता है, तो जब आप वापस से रेज्यूम करते हो, तो यू जस्ट हैव टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम थोड़ा बिगिनिंग, लाइक कंटिन्यू नहीं करोगे। तो कंसिस्टेंसी इज व्हाट यू नीड इन योर थर्ड ईयर, आई वुड से। ओके,
What to do more towards DSA? This will answer based on like Aryan's point. So earlier Aryan had mentioned about controlling the flow of the interview, like using certain keywords which will like determine what questions the interviewer will ask you. So during the interview you can just add some keywords which are more inclined towards the DSA, so that they're able to pick it up and hopefully ask more questions based on that. So I think वैसे हो सकता है, because
It's like I, from my interview, Citi was like my very first interview. So my mindset was okay, I need to control the flow of the interview from my side. And another part of like a very subconscious part of the interview is that it is basically mental warfare. Like, okay, is this guy going to control the interview or I am going to control the interview? So that's like, that doesn't play a very big part, but it definitely plays a part towards like, can you get the ball in your court? Can you turn the interview in your favor?
I usually call it a mind game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would also like to tell कि अभी ये तो second session हुआ, 25th upcoming 25th of October को we'll be having our third session. Hopefully till then we'll get a shortlist for people who have qualified for their interviews. So at that point we'll personally tell you कि आपको क्या बोलना है, क्या नहीं बोलना है. We'll keep it for our third session. I would just like to tell. Yes, Suyash, go ahead. You were saying something.
No, that was that was just what I want to say. Try to keep the flow with yourself. Like just throw in some keywords and make it very subtle. Not very obvious. He's trying to switch the topic and something like that. So बीच में in the conversation itself you can just link one topic to another. कि वो इसमें भी ऐसा होता है, and add some more DSA topics. So I think that will work, because that what we used. क्योंकि I like focus my entire interview on the project itself कि भाई DSA ज़्यादा मत पूछ, वो देख तू. So
I think you answer the next question as well.
Yes.
Tips into getting into GSOC. So I think we should do some separate session for this, because it will take a quite big long time. आधा एक घंटा तो जाएगा इसमें.
All right. So if anyone from my department coordination or PR team is there, please mark it down that C2C going to have a special GSOC session with Suyash. All right. ठीक है. Team से भी acknowledgement आ गया. Yeah, we'll move ahead. What questions they ask about React and Angular?
I think because we both avoided our React questions, I'm not sure about how deep they go into React. But Angular, I don't. No one was asked. Like from my knowledge, no one was asked because it's more of a legacy technology which we aren't really expected to know. Like even during the internship, I had this part of a project where I was supposed to use Angular, and the people over there were surprised that I could do it because like people our age aren't really expected to know it. So I don't think they'll ask Angular, but like I said before, keep the some of the basic terms or some knowledge of the common frameworks always with you.
All right. Someone asked कि fourth semester में भी city आती है क्या? So it usually comes in your third year का first sem, that is fifth sem. That's all. So probably इस साल what they're going to do we don't know क्योंकि last year was the first time they visited our campus. So that might change, but usually they don't. Can you change the resume during interview? As I have uploaded resume on TPO site. मैंने ये पहले बोला है कि it totally depends on the notification from TPO. अगर वो बोल रहे हैं कि यू शुड ब्रिंग अ हार्ड कॉपी देन देयर इज अ गुड चांस. मैंने वो रिस्क लिया था, बट हाँ, डिपेंड्स. It will be mostly that will only be referred. Keep this for your whatever next interview if you're going to apply, or anyone from second year who is attending this session. 5 of us were selected as interns, and all of us have got converted as full-time employees. Aryan, Suyash, if you want to ask this question, answer
Yeah,
this.
so I think one was the heaven like guards thing, the two guards at two doors, and one was the cutting the cake with like a number of slices. You have to cut it into 8 parts. I think it was like that. Yeah, 3 cuts into 8 parts, something like that. So those are the only 2 questions I was asked.
I was only asked one puzzle question, which was the guards question. So yeah, एक ही था वो. And you'll able to find these puzzles, like these questions, like just search for top puzzle question asking interviews, and these are the top 5 or top. These are mostly in the top questions that are asked. So ये मिल जाएगा. Puzzles इतना difficult नहीं पूछते वो. And they the most important thing is कि they check whether you are able, like whether you are trying or not, really trying or not, and how your thought process is. Even I was not able to solve that question, but I was able to like divide the problem and just approach it in a step-by-step order. So they checked that I was approaching it in a systematic order, and सिर्फ ऐसे कुछ भी नहीं बक रहा था मैं. So that is also they check. So you have to make sure that even if you are not able to answer, you are trying really hard and you are actually trying, and you're trying to do it in a step-by-step logical order. So yeah, that's one thing you have to keep in mind.
Like you understood the problem, you analyzed it, you gave your first brute force method की according to ये सारे parameters हैं, तो पहला आंसर तो मेरे दिमाग में ये आ रहा है, is it right, or that I should optimize it. So that is the way. Another question, like I saw 2-3 questions about what kind of project we should have, और project maker ऐसा कुछ question था. So इसके बारे में I guess I covered it in our team का meet, or I don't remember last session, but you don't find, और तुम project बनाते नहीं, you try to solve a problem. So I would suggest कि try to find a problem इसके you can have multiple solutions, and जो भी feasible solution है that aligns with whatever tech stack you're I would say you can easily learn, और जिसमें you have experience, try to solve it in that way. तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग इज इम्पोर्टेंट, नॉट कि प्रोजेक्ट उठाया या प्रोजेक्ट बनाना कैसे है.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Like you don't have to make the most optimal solution. You just have to like find some niche and make a project on it. It can be like your EDI as well, so you're not spending separate time on it, but make sure that you're not just taking common projects from your seniors and or from GitHub, things like that. Because like every sem, I can tell you that I have never picked up a project from anyone else in college, because the main reason was our guide wasn't accepting it in any of the semesters, but also that it gives you a learning opportunity. It improves your development skills, so you don't need to like, okay, so if I made a project using Django or Flask or let's say even Spring Boot, so in that case, I won't have to like prepare Spring Boot or Django for the interview. Since I've worked with it, I know like some things about it. I can directly tell them in the interview. I don't have to prepare separately for it.
True. I mean, we had a discussion with our team on last Wednesday, I guess. So one of my teammate just gave a very simple example. Like किसी ने पूछा था juniors में कि project कैसे decide करते हैं. So what the example that our teammate gave was, see, you roam in college and you let's suppose तुम्हें किसी faculty से मिलना है. तो what's the problem कि faculty कहाँ बैठती है, उनका free slot क्या है, we never know. तो बहुत बार ऐसा हो जाता है कि हम कॉलेज जाते हैं, faculty होती ही नहीं है. तो what if we create just a, let's say, बहुत sophisticated ऐप नहीं चाहिए, but एक telegram bot जिसपे if we just put the faculty का name, तो वो कहाँ बैठते हैं, उनका free slot क्या होता है. अगर ये इस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट्स भी बहुत अच्छे यू कैन प्रेजेंट इट, क्योंकि इससे बहुत लोगों को फायदा हो रहा है. तो इस पर्सपेक्टिव से अगर आप सोचोगे कि प्रोजेक्ट बना सकते हैं तो इट विल बी वेरी इजी.
Yeah, they really check if you are able to understand the problems of the community, and if you are at least trying to solve the problems and how you are approaching. So yeah, I say it's nice.
ऑल राइट गाइज, तो अपेरेंटली सारे डाउट्स क्लियर हो चुके हैं. ऑल्दो अगर किसी को कुछ डाउट है तो यू विद इन अ कपल ऑफ मिनट्स यू जस्ट टर्न ऑन योर माइक एंड आस्क योर क्वेश्चंस. वी आर हियर ऑलरेडी, वी आर रनिंग आउट ऑफ टाइम, सो विल ट्राई टू रैप इट अराउंड 7:15. उसके पहले इफ एनीवन हैज एनी डाउट्स जस्ट गो अहेड.
Like, aside from whatever we discussed just now.
Yeah, true. Also, I think मैंने एक और एक टेकआउट मिला मुझे, दैट इज प्रोजेक्ट पे वी कैन हैव वन सेपरेट सेशन कि प्रोजेक्ट कैसे डिसाइड करते हैं या हाउ टू फिल्टर आउट प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स. वी कैन हैव अ सेशन ऑन दैट. ऑल राइट, ठीक है गाइज, आई थिंक किसी को कुछ डाउट नहीं है. ऑल ऑफ देम आई थिंक होपफुली आर क्लियर्ड. आउट ऑफ
Can we add hardware projects?
Sorry.
Can we add hardware projects in our resume during Citi?
Yeah, like you can add, but you should be able to articulate your project or present it well, so that आपका हार्डवेयर से ज़्यादा ये दिखे कि आपका सॉफ्टवेयर अच्छा है. तो मैंने जो मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन मेरा रेज्यूमे दिखाया था उसमें फर्स्ट प्रोजेक्ट वाज हार्डवेयर ओनली, बट मैंने उसको प्रेजेंट ऐसे किया था कि इट वाज अ सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट इन पाइथन जिसका कनेक्शन वाज विद हार्डवेयर. So if in that way you can connect it during your interview, you're good to go. Is that clear?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. ठीक है. I think we can wrap the session now. Thank you so much everyone. Thank you so much Aryan. Thank you so much Suyash. So I think जितने भी लोगों ने अभी अटेंड किया है सेशन, they have got 3 point of views for clearing the CitiBank. So जितने भी लोग अभी टेस्ट के बाद क्वालिफाई होंगे, hopefully we'll be seeing them again for preparing them for their interviews. So hopefully इसमें से ज़्यादा लोग will be again attending our third session. ठीक है. Thank you so much everyone. We'll wrap this session now. Thank you so much everyone. जितने भी लोग हैं, just we have put our links to join our WhatsApp community so that you will stay in touch with our club so that ऐसे sessions को आप attend कर पाओ. We have also put our LinkedIn and Instagram, so make sure you follow us, and you will get the recording of this whole session on our YouTube channel. So like, share, comment, subscribe.
Chalo, all
Thank
the
you
best
so much.
guys.
Yeah, all the best.